Hi, and welcome to Ivy English. I'm Karen.
And I'm Chris Gorski.
Today is April 4th, and we're on page 13 in your magazines. And today we're going to hear part 2 of the article that we started yesterday about Taiwan's very, 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 very rainy city. And the title of the article is Shores and Tours, Keelung's Endless Lures.
That's right. So yesterday we introduced the famous rainiest city in all of Taiwan, which just still seems remarkable. I am thinking about, of all the places that are rainiest, Keelung is really so close and yet so far away in terms of its climate. And it has to be one of those things that it just has its own microclimate. We all probably know the phrase climate change. That's generally the weather over a long period of time. Some places actually experience microclimates. And this means that your particular little area right here is different for whatever reason all around you. And that might be because there's a mountain range or the ocean or the way the monsoon affects your region.
And you don't even need to have a whole city to have a microclimate. I live on a mountain, like you were referring to, just outside of Taipei City. And the weather's fine. And then I go down the mountain, 10 minutes later, it's raining. Or vice versa. It's raining, I had my umbrella up, and then I go 10 minutes down, they say, oh, is it raining out? They see my umbrella.
See you with your umbrella like you're a crazy person, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And I think, man, and then you cross the bridge over into Jingmei, and suddenly it's different, or from Jingmei into Taipei City.
Taipei being a basin, I can really see that, right? I don't personally know the geography of Keelung as well, but I know the way Taipei is laid out, that of course, yeah, it makes sense that because of the way the mountains sit and the way the clouds will flow over them, like, I don't know, I see people with umbrellas all the time, and I'm thinking, I didn't see any rain at all when I left Danshui today.
But it was always funny watching it. You could see the bridge coming up, and suddenly it would stop raining.
Beautiful
It
day.
was just so clear. So, yeah, microclimates. We have a lot of microclimates. Okay, here is part 2. A fortress of history. Surrounded by mountains on 3 sides and featuring a natural harbor, Keelung was once coveted by various powers because of its strategic location. As a result, the city has the highest number and density of forts in Taiwan. Today, more than 20 relics of forts are scattered across Keelung. These sites offer visitors a unique combination of historical exploration and scenic hiking opportunities.
A food lover's paradise. No trip to Keelung is complete without a visit to the Miaoko night market. Decorated with yellow lanterns, this night market is a paradise for food enthusiasts. Fishball soup, braised pork rice, seafood specialties, and bubble ice are just a few of the items that tickle visitors' taste buds. For those who feel like taking a walk after a satisfying meal, the Jianbing fishing port is a great spot. Once a bustling center for the fishing industry, the port is now renowned for its colorful row of houses lining the waterfront.
Natural beauty and escapes. For people eager to escape the city's hustle and bustle, Hoping Island Geopark is a must-visit. The park boasts breathtaking ocean views, unique rock formations, and a tranquil atmosphere, making it an ideal spot for nature lovers.
Keelung's charm lies in its contrasts. Vibrant yet peaceful. Modern yet steeped in tradition. Each moment spent in the city creates experiences worth remembering.
Okay, back to the beginning. Our title again for the whole article is Shores and Tours, Keelung's Endless Lures. So we're talking about a few more of the so-called lures, and they're things that will actually attract you to the city. So our first one today is a fortress of history, and I think this is really Chris's specialty because he's a history buff. So our first sentence here is surrounded by mountains on 3 sides and featuring a natural harbor, Keelung was once coveted by various powers because of its strategic location. Over to you, Chris.
Okay, so first let's look at the word harbor. And I mentioned a lot of Greek-rooted words, or this word is from Latin. Here we actually have a good old-fashioned Old English word. So harbor actually comes from the word from lodging or living spaces or quarters. And this is a word that describes a part of an ocean or lake next to land that can protect ships or from dangerous weather. So harbor is actually a good old English word. It's not often that we have one of those weird words that we're talking about that way.
And harbors as a verb is interesting. For example, he harbors a lot of strange ideas. Or you could also say that house actually harbors some criminals.
So we're keeping these particular things safe. Maybe you share them with others, but generally speaking, they're unique to you because a harbor will protect this place from the outside. So what is it about Keelung that these foreign powers were interested in? Well, first of all, access to China was often limited in history, but if you were offshore somewhere nearby, you could sail in, do your trading, and leave. That's before the Opium War. If your history's any good, you'll know that. And Keelung was close enough. It had a good harbor. You could get what you wanted, and there were nice rivers with lots of fishing. And if you could protect that mouth of the river, generally other countries couldn't come in until you left. All you had to do was aim all your cannons straight at the mouth of the river, and good luck.
Okay, next sentence. As a result, the city has the highest number and density of forts in Taiwan.
Now, something we should mention here, first of all, a fort is your kind of like little defensive castle for your soldiers. Keelung is not especially known for its big battles, even though they have all these fights. It's kind of something they just set up because they need soldiers to enforce their law. They're not conquering and burning down the city. They're not trying to cause trouble. They're just saying, we have soldiers here that will protect our ships, not especially from the local people that lived in Taiwan at the time, but really from the other countries that were setting up colonies as well. They were the pirates. They were pirating themselves. And so these Western powers were really excited to take over each other's boats or smash them or get them out of the area if they could, because if you weren't here, then those other countries could do the trade in that area for them.
Okay, let's move on. Today, more than 20 relics of forts are scattered across Keelung. So this is giving it a number. So more than 20, that's quite a few.
So a relic is something that remains from the past, and they aren't necessarily entire forts. They're parts of forts.
Right, which are often more interesting. You can see these ruins and comb through them and imagine what it might have been like years ago, hundreds of years ago.
Always shockingly smaller than you would think. Like, oh, these are really small.
Yeah.
Small doors, small beds, small everything.
Keelung is not a huge city, so it couldn't be too huge, I would think. These sites offer visitors a unique combination of historical exploration and scenic hiking opportunities, and that appeals to me. I love new places to go hiking.
Our next paragraph begins, a food lover's paradise. So paradise is just heaven. No trip to Keelung is complete without a visit to the Miaoko night market,
which is quite famous. And then they will also sell their specialties in other cities like Taipei. It will be labeled as Miaoko food.
Don't make that a common beginner mistake by having little n and little m. These need to be capitalized. That's a very regular mistake for people because it's a proper noun. It's the name of the night market.
Okay.
Decorated with yellow lanterns, this night market is a paradise for food enthusiasts.
Okay, we're going to find out what some of those foods are. But one thing is, if you don't eat meat, you're not going to find quite as many things to eat at most night markets, I have to say.
Yeah, I think so. There's usually a place that has some food for you, but there are some night markets where I've walked through and said, oh man, there's like nothing I can eat here.
Yeah, I eat fish, so that makes it easier because there is often some seafood. But another thing I avoid is deep fried food.
Right.
And so many things are deep fried. It's like a state fair in the States. And in addition, I avoid added sugar. So if you don't want something sweet, and you don't want something deep fried, and you don't want meat, man, your options are a bit limited.
All right, so you might call yourself a food enthusiast. You might call yourself a food tourist. Probably the most common way I've heard this explained is a foodie, F-O-O-D-I-E, a foodie.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, our next sentence, fish ball soup, braised pork rice, seafood specialties, and bubble ice are just a few of the items that tickle visitors' taste buds. Your taste buds are just the little bumps on your tongues, and so if we tickle your taste buds, that kind of just means it tastes really good.
Right. Okay. Let's go on.
For those who feel like taking a walk after a satisfying meal, the Genbin fishing port is a great spot.
Oh, that sounds fun. Just walking along the shore is enjoyable, especially like when the sun is setting and you're with some good friends, or it probably could be a bit romantic as well if you're with somebody you want to be romantic with. So that sounds fun.
I agree. I am a fan of taking a walk on, and Taiwan does a very good job of creating spaces for people to walk and just enjoy themselves. That is something I often point out to my friends that ask me about life in Taiwan, is that there are many places where you can just walk and walk and walk, literally hours worth of walking, and never leave the main hiking path. And that's something that's a lot more fragmented or kind of piecemeal in the United States, which is a real shame because America is much larger.
Yeah, that's right. And they also often have very nice footbridges, which I enjoy.
That's right. So if you want to avoid traffic altogether, you really can. I really love the riverside parks that exist all over Taiwan. And I mean, you could put some real estate here. You could build a new building here. But we know there might be flooding. We know there might be damage. Why don't we just create this into a place where people can enjoy themselves for most of the time? It's kind of easy exercise for everyone. It's a little bit of recreation. I think it's really one of Taiwan's best features.
I absolutely agree, especially all the bike paths. I just give a prayer of thanks every time I ride along one of them, or sometimes I walk. They are so wonderful. It's like a fairyland to me.
Agreed. Our next sentence, once a bustling center for the fishing industry, the port is now renowned for its colorful row of houses lining the waterfront.
Now, that sounds kind of fun as well. Colorful houses, so you have a village to kind of wander through, and they'll probably have lots of interesting boutiques and specialty shops and restaurants.
Once a bustling center here is talking about in the past. So in the past, this was a very busy place for the fishing industry, probably lots of industry, but now it's kind of just been changed into something. And something else Taipei has done is taking some of those old industrial buildings and turn them into multi-use or art gallery type of situations. And they're really lovely to walk through. You have these old buildings that you wouldn't really build anymore, but now you've turned it into an art gallery and it's someplace really nice to walk. And I'm down with this. I've seen pictures of these houses down on the waterfront and they are painted very beautifully. They're very eye-catching.
Right. Okay, our next paragraph, natural beauty and escapes. So natural beauty, we're just talking about being out in nature, just a lot of ocean, shores, forests, whatever it is, that's natural beauty. And escapes, that means a place that you can go to maybe in a day and get back home in time for supper, or at least to go to bed. So escapes, that means just getting away from the hustle and bustle of the city, as we're going to see in the first sentence, having a relaxing tour or walk or eating out or whatever it is, and then just going home. So it's not a major trip where you have to pack a bag. For people eager to escape the city's hustle and bustle, Heping Island Geopark is a must visit. I went there not so long ago, and I really, really enjoyed it. I went there with a tour group, with people that I enjoyed being with, and with a good leader that was telling us the history of the area. So I can really recommend this myself.
Yeah, so hustle and bustle, we've seen this phrase in our last paragraph, once a bustling center. That bustling or bustle here just means it's very busy. Hustle and bustle are often used together. Be careful, we do have to say hustle first, then bustle. We never say bustle and hustle.
That's really funny. And they each have a different meaning in a different context. Hustle is now a really popular word when you're talking about startups and business. So a lot of people don't have the courage to quit their job and just start a new business. They will start with a side hustle. A side hustle means you keep your regular job, but you stay up a little later and you start developing a new business on the side. So maybe you have some products that you offer online and you can fulfill them, but still keep your main job. This is not going to work over time, I can tell you. It's good enough for you to try it out and see if it works, see if there's demand. That's fine. But side hustles are meant to be temporary. You really need to focus on what you're doing. So learn that expression, side hustle. Usually there's a hyphen between the words. Bustle has an interesting other meaning, and it relates to fashion of like the 19th century and earlier. So women would wear these very large gowns. They had a huge skirt with a very tiny waist, and then they would make your backside look even fuller than it is. It's not just your butt that it's covering. You put a whole bunch of filler in there to make the back of the dress stick out. It's a lot of lace and things that does it. That's called a bustle. Okay, the next sentence. The park boasts breathtaking ocean views, unique rock formations, and a tranquil atmosphere, making it an ideal spot for nature lovers. So a great place to hike, maybe to walk with some friends. Maybe you could bring your paint set and go there and paint.
So the park boasts is a very common phrase. It's usually said several ways. We could just say the park has breathtaking ocean views. That's easily the most boring way you could say this. Boast is proudly have, but we often will also see the park features breathtaking ocean views. So there are a few ways to just say the park has, it boasts, it features, and all of these are positive.
It offers.
It offers, sure. There are a number of ways. Write them down on the margin of your magazine here. They're phrases that you could use very easily, especially in kind of written English. Although I don't know how often I would say it features, it outside of maybe like a business pitch.
I use it quite a bit in writing.
Do you? In writing. I do. It feels very literary.
That's right.
The unique rock formations always catch me in these ocean parks. I love to look at them. Like, man, this is so weird. What are the features? How did the ocean make something like this? Why is a rock shaped like this?
That's right. And there are often a lot of legends about those unique rock formations. So, for example, if there's a very large rock formation that's sort of hanging over the shore, you'll often have stories about women who are waiting for their husbands to come back from being at sea.
Right. That's very heartbreaking.
Okay, a tranquil atmosphere, it means it's very peaceful. It makes you feel very calm. So if you love nature, this is a great place to go.
Our final mini paragraph here, Keelung's charm lies in its contrasts. Vibrant yet peaceful, modern yet steeped in tradition.
Steeped in, that's usually something you do with a tea bag when you are making tea. You have a cup full of hot water, you put the tea in there, either a bag or loose tea, and it steeps. That means it soaks in there and then it gives off the essence of tea. So that's to be steeped in, but here it's a metaphor. That means we're using it in a kind of abstract way. Steeped in tradition, that means everywhere you go, you can feel that everything is from history. It's got a deep history.
And our final sentence today, each moment spent in the city creates experiences worth remembering.
And that's just a sort of finishing off sentence. Doesn't give us a lot of new information, but it just tells you, yeah, go on and go there. You'll find something fun, nice, and then you'll have some nice memories later. We have a few questions for you. And here's number 1. How has climate change affected Keelung's weather patterns? A?
The weather has been more stable year-round.
No. B. More typhoons have landed and flooding has increased. Also not true.
Letter C. Winters have become colder while summers have become hotter.
It said nothing about that. Let's try D. Rainfall has decreased and droughts have occurred more frequently. And that is true. And we were saying that actually, because it rains so much, droughts are not a good thing. They can be dangerous. You may not have enough drinking water. You may not be able to water your crops as you're used to. But in general, less rain in Keelung. They have not quite as much rainfall now, and sometimes they have droughts.
Number 2, what drove the port of Keelung to develop cruise businesses according to the Day 1 passage?
A. The government wanted to attract more visitors from other countries. This is totally possible, but it doesn't mention it in the article.
Letter B. Limitations in space and water depth shrank its cargo businesses.
And that is the correct answer, because they were not deep enough for these ever-growing, these ever-larger ships, and they just couldn't accommodate them. So they had to figure out something else they could do to maintain the viability of the port. What else can we do to make money? And so they didn't have enough space. They didn't have enough water. Less cargo businesses. They're going to have to turn to something else. That's the correct answer.
I think the tourist side hustle, to use that phrase that we used earlier, is also probably a good idea, like introducing people to Taiwan. And Keelung has those forts. There's a night market. It's probably a really good introduction to a lot of people.
Okay, see?
It tried to earn global recognition in the cruise industry.
I think it was kind of a surprise. It's not something that they tried, but it's something that kind of developed.
And then lastly, letter D.
The number of cargo ships decreased sharply. Not sharply. It did decrease somewhat. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3?
Which of the following sentences is best inserted in the blank in the day 2 passage?
Now, you're going to have to turn the page back to part 2 of our article. And if you were following in your magazine, you would have noticed, or online, you would have found that sentence 1 has a comma, period, then we've got a big blank. And we don't know, when you're first reading it, you wonder, what is that blank doing there? Is that a typo? No. It's because you could add another sentence there, and it would still be nice and coherent. And so we have some choices here. Which sentence could we put in that blank? Here's letter A. Some of them invaded and destroyed the city. Well, let's go back and read the sentence so we know what we're coming from. Surrounded by mountains on 3 sides and featuring a natural harbor, Keelung was once coveted by various powers because of its strategic location blank. As a result, the city has the highest number and density of forts in Taiwan. So could we fit this in there? Some of them invaded and destroyed the city? No.
Nothing suggested that. Letter B. Natural barriers protected the city very well.
Also no mention of that. C. They destroyed most of the forts in Keelung, also not mentioned. And
lastly, letter D. To fortify its defenses, numerous forts were built.
We do have enough information to say, yes, we can safely put that sentence in this blank. And finally, number 4. Choose the one where the destination and description don't fit. Let's go straight to the right answer.
C. Keelung Maritime Plaza, an ideal place to go fishing and buy fresh seafood.
No, it's not mainly for fishing and buying seafood, but for tourism, for walking around and enjoying the harbor.
Tranquil walk, that's right.
And that's it for today. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.